Well, good afternoon and welcome to Royal Oak Farm. We are here on the Georama live tours. We apologize for getting to you a few minutes late. We had some technical difficulties, but we are up and rolling right now. Royal Oak Farm is located in Harvard, Illinois. We are just south of the Wisconsin border, about 15 minutes south of Lake Geneva in Wisconsin, and you guys got a beautiful day for a tour today. It is sunny and clear, and we're looking forward to showing you all of the fun things here at the farm. The farm was started in 1992 by Peter and Gloria Bianchini, and they came out here on their retirement, and the whole farm was actually a big corn and soybean farm. Their farm manager decided he wanted to plant some trees, and they were fine with that, so he put in a couple hundred apple trees, and the couple hundred turned into a couple thousand, and then we had to figure out what to do with the apples that were coming in a few years later. So we turned our original machine tractor shed into our gift shop, bakery, and restaurant, and opened a small U-Pick stand in 1997, and we have been adding on ever since. So today we wanted to show you one of our newest additions, just opened last year. This is a maze and apples, the country's first and only apple tree maze. So in just a few minutes, we're going to head into the maze. We want to show you some of the fun attractions in there and let you guys see firsthand what it's like to go through this maze and talk to you a little bit about the growing systems in there. We're also excited for some of the new additions we're adding this year. One of our very first additions that we're adding this year is our new children's book called The Amazing Apple Adventure. And as you can see, focusing exactly on how the maze appears, the book is a fun children's story that talks to kids about fear and features a lot of the animals that are here on the farm. So this year, as they go through the maze, they'll be able to see life-size cutouts of all of the characters in the book. They'll be able to also go meet all of these fun animals down at our petting zoo as well. So we've got all of the animals here live for them to go see and to visit. So let's head on into the maze and we'll get started. I brought a map with us, so hopefully we don't get lost. As you can see, we head through a trellis area here. And our maze doesn't have a particular exit and entrance area. You can go either way as you start and try to come out the other side as you finish. We are going to go into our music section right now. We have 3 activity areas in the maze. We've got one that focuses on games, one that focuses on music, and another one that has some fun wooden structures for kids to climb on. Those activity areas were all opened last year. As you can see, all of the trees in the maze are grown in a hedge-like system. It's called espalier. We train all the trees to grow like this. In growing trees like this, you can get a lot more trees per acre, and so this growing system is most common in European countries where they don't have nearly as much land as we have here.
How long does it typically take to get through the maze?
It can take anywhere from a half an hour, if you're real quick, to an hour and a half, just depending on how many activity areas that you want to go see, or depending on how long it takes you to play the games. So we do have 3 different games that you can play as you go through the maze, but one of them is much more challenging. However, if you complete it correctly, you'll win a free donut in the bakery. So there's a little bit of an incentive to that one. So as we go through, we're just reaching our first activity area here. The activity areas were kind of set up as secret gardens. So we do have relatively new plantings in here, but soon there'll be vines growing over all the trellises as the plantings mature, and a little bit more of a fully finished landscaping here. As we said, we just opened the maze last year. This activity area is our music center. We have one of our music instruments up right now. We've got a few others that are in for repair. Our orchard doesn't open until August, so we are working and trying to maintain. But this is we call it our pipe organ. And so what the kids can do is use our mallets here to play their own songs. We've got 2 different ones, so 2 can play at a time. kind of a fun thing. We always hear the pipe working going off. And then as you can see, we've also got a lot of fun signs in all the activity areas where people can put their faces in and take pictures. We've got one that measures how tall you are, so just some fun pictures and memories for people as they're going through. And of course, benches and seating areas for parents, as I'm sure they will be exhausted chasing through their kids. So we're going to head out to our newest addition this year. We've got a tower going up in the center of our maze. You should be able to see over the entirety of the maze once it's built. And it will house some of the features from our book, one of which we're working on right now. There's a item in our children's book called the Book of Wisdom. And so you'll be able to go up and see a hand-carved, giant-sized version of our Book of Wisdom. And we are also hoping for you to meet our main character, Snow Sweet, up in the tower on the weekends as well. So definitely some fun activities for the kids as they go through. Like I said, all the trees are grown on the espalier system, which is much different from how we traditionally plant our trees. Most of the time we plant them in rows that are spaced about 10 feet apart. So it makes it a little bit trickier for our spraying and for our irrigation. We do have a question though right now.
Jackie wants to know where you can get the book.
You can purchase the book this fall. It will be coming out. We'll be doing probably a launch and release party for it at the beginning of our season. We open August 19th. So it'll be available here at the farm. We'll have it at all our farmers market locations that we visit. And it's also available currently on Amazon right now in the ebook and paperback edition as well. So if you want to read ahead, feel free. Like I said, because of the difficulties in spraying and irrigation, we had to have a whole new spray and irrigation system set up just for this maze. So it is the first fully functioning foliage spray system in the country, set up by our irrigation company, Trickleys, up in Michigan. It has been tested and developed over in Israel, so it was a little bit of a challenge getting all of the parts for it. But as you can see, there's spray nozzles that run all along the tubing on the top of the trees, and we have 2 pump houses in the maze. And so what that allows us to do is to hook up our normal spray tractor to those pumps. We've got about 4 or 5 different zones in the maze, and so we can put on all of our fertilizers and pesticides, anything we need to get onto the trees through this spray system. It allows us to spray the maze in about 20 to 30 minutes, where normally it would take at least 2 or 3 hours on our typical spray tractor. We've got another question going on.
What happens to the maze in the winter? Can people still visit?
The maze, unfortunately, is closed in the wintertime. We are only open on the farm mid-August through mid-November, so that is the only time that we have people going through the maze. The trees obviously lose their leaves in the winter, so it's not quite as enjoyable coming through here as you can kind of see where you're going, so there's not too much of a challenge, but we are open in the fall, and it's open 7 days a week, August through October. We're open Monday through Saturday in November. So definitely a large chance to come and visit. We do tours of the maze. We also have school group tours that are available if you have a school group or a homeschool group that wants to come through and enjoy the maze as well as a group activity. So like I said, we do have our spray foliage system that is put in on the top. We also have a special irrigation system that is underneath the maze. Underneath all of the rows of trees, we had to dig in pipes and put in an irrigation system because, like we said, the trees aren't grown in a straight line, so it makes everything a little more challenging. We've got one more question.
What variety of apples are on the maze trees?
The maze hosts over 3,000 trees. We have 9 different varieties of apples coming in from the end of August all the way through to the end of October. So always something to pick in the maze. As the trees begin to mature fully, we'll probably let people pick a little bit more. But right now, entrance into the maze includes picking 2 apples as you go through. So 1 to munch on, 1 to take home. So we'll continue on. through the maze here. We'll try not to get lost. And we're going to head over to our tower. Our tower is still in construction right now, but you'll at least be able to see part of what's going up. So we're very excited about it. It's going to be the first of 3 towers. We're hoping to get the next 2 built in the next few years here. So once all 3 are up, they will be connected. At least that's the goal. And definitely a fun attraction to come and see as you're visiting the maze. I apologize for any noise as we get closer. Like I said, they are building right now, so there is a little bit of noise as we get closer. Like I said, the maze has 9 varieties of apples, 3,000 trees. There's a 1.5 miles of walking paths as well. So definitely a great exercise activity. But all of the paths are seeded with grass, so very easy walking. This is Gary, our carpenter, working hard on our tower. You can see the staircase starting to go up and the base of the tower. It'll have a gazebo-like structure on the top, and hopefully we'll be flying our Maize and Apples flag at the very top. So definitely something fun to go and see. We're going to head out the back end here. Again, apologize for our compressor. Now more about the original area here where the maze was. Used to be our old pumpkin patch. So anybody that's been here previously knows it as our pumpkin patch. We put in the maze in 2012, so it took quite a while for the trees to grow and to mature until we could open the maze. There's 3,000 trees. We planted them in 2 days, so we're pretty fast. But we definitely took some time putting in our posts and making sure we got the right varieties in the right sections. There's 9 varieties, but they're in multiple locations across the maze. So definitely makes it a little tricky planting all those trees. The company that designed the maze is called Maze Play. They're based out of Idaho, and they're actually the same company that designs Richardson's Corn Maze in Spring Grove. So they were able to come out and use GPS to locate where all of our posts would go, and that helped us determine where our varieties, where our turns are, and all of the necessary mapping to get all of that completed. As you can tell, if you go through here, you'll see every once in a while a tree that doesn't look quite like an apple tree. And those are crabapple trees, and they've been placed about every 100 to 200 trees. We've got a crabapple in here. The reason being is because our trees are so close together in here. The rows are a lot closer than normal. And so crabapple trees are actually great pollinators for apple trees. All of the apple trees that we get have been grafted onto a crabapple stock. The nurseries do this because the crabapples are so cold hardy, and so it definitely helps to maintain the health and the life of the trees if you put them onto a crabapple rootstock. So you'll notice every once in a while you'll see a much redder tree with some red berries on them. Don't eat the crabapples. They don't taste that good. You just want to pick the big apples on the trees. As you can see in here, this is another one of our rest areas, activity areas. It's got some fun wooden structures for the kids to climb on. Like I said, we kind of set them all up to be little secret gardens and hidden places in the maze. This one features a "How tall are you" sign. But you can see our ivy growing onto the trellises. Looking forward to all of the maturing of the landscaping in the next few years. Here's one of our crabapple trees that we talked about, placed in here. Definitely helps with pollination for the trees in the maze. As you can see, our bees were busy in the maze this year as well, and we've got quite a good crop of apples in here. The trees are pretty loaded. So we're going to actually exit the maze through one of our maintenance gates. We've got 2 maintenance gates. They help for our machinery to get in and out as they're doing repairs and maintenance in here, and they also assist us. In case anybody gets lost, we can get to them relatively quickly through our maintenance gate. So we're actually going to hop on a wagon and head out into our north and south orchards. We've got 4 orchards here on the property. 2 in the front, our east and west, and 2 in the back, the north and the south. As you can see over here, we've got one of our pump houses. Like I said before, that's where we hook up our spray tractors, and that will allow us to maintain the trees in the orchard. And so we recently just built new housing structures around those pumps to keep them protected. As you can see over in the distance, we've got our new mums going in. We planted about 800 mums this year, and we are looking forward to getting those in the ground for the fall. They'll also be available for sale in our harvest barn. So we're going to go ahead and hop on the wagon. If you've ever been to the orchard, you know that we do all of our tours on our tractor-drawn wagons. And so Derek, our foreman, is going to take us out, and we'll get ready to go. If you ever want to take a real tour of the orchard, you can visit us on any weekend. We've got tours running regularly, and you can enjoy of our tours of the orchard. They're about a 30-minute tour, but the drivers talk about the history of the orchard, about our growing systems, and about our bees, and any other pertinent information that you might want. You always want to make sure to hold on here as we go. Sometimes our wagons are a little bit bumpy. If you've ever been picking at the orchard, you know we take everyone out on the weekends on our tractor-drawn wagons to go picking. We've got multiple stops throughout the orchard that you can get off and get on to pick the apples, and then we also use our wagons for our school and our senior tours to get the kids out into the orchard. Like I said, we have quite a few trees on the property. We've got about 16,000 trees, and I think we've got another question here too.
You could ride on the wagon at one time.
We've got about 5 or 6 different wagons. Everyone holds a different capacity of people, so anywhere from 40 to 60, just depending on the size of the wagon. This particular wagon is our main senior tour wagon, and it holds about 25 to 30 adults. I've got another question.
How many apple cider donuts do you sell every year?
Oh, how many apple cider donuts do we sell every year? It's kind of hard to estimate that. On the weekends, we start our day with about 500 dozen donuts. Our machines make 130 dozen an hour, and we always sell out. So multiply that by about 8 busy weekends for us, and then throughout the summer, it's got to be a couple 100,000. So as we continue on through the orchard, like I said, we've got 16,000 trees on the orchard. We've got 30 different varieties of apples, plenty to pick from, apples ripening all the way from middle of August through the beginning of November. This area we're passing right now is called our wall of apples, and this particular area is our test area for the maze. So this is the same growing system that we're using in the maze, but these trees are about 15 to 20 years old. So you can see what our maze will look like once the trees fully mature. Like I said, you can get a lot more trees per acreage in here. Typically, traditional growing methods have trees spaced anywhere from 6 to 10 feet apart. With our new growing methods that we use currently in the orchard, we use what's called a tall spindle method. So we can get them closer, 3 to 6 feet apart. But in our maze, we have all the trees exactly 3 feet apart. So you can definitely get a lot more trees per acre in this growing method. As you can see, all the blue tarps in the fields over here, they're getting ready to put in our melons. They've already got some of them in on the second field over here. We grow what's called a sugar cube melon. It's one of our summer fruits that comes in. We have some of them available as we open in August. They're personal size cantaloupe, super sweet, great for just eating out of hand. You can also freeze the fruit once you've cut it up, and great in summer drinks as well. Those are available at our farmers markets as soon as they ripen, and then, like I said, once we open on the farm here. So as I said, we've got quite a few trees and varieties of fruit. We have about 160 acres on the farm. And the farm is definitely family run. We've got 4 generations living and working on the farm. My grandparents are the heads of the orchard. They're the ones that started it, Peter and Gloria. And then my parents are here, my brother and his family, and me and my family are here as well. So we definitely all have our part at the orchard, all have different things that we do. You can see up ahead we're getting closer to some of our beehives. We've got about 60 different beehives on the property. The bees are the best pollinators you can get when it comes to apple trees, so we love our honeybees. Most people get a little bit scared when you go by the hives, but the bees are generally, honeybees at least, very non-aggressive, easy to work with. Home beekeeping has become quite popular in these days. We've got a question as well.
How can you find out what farmers markets you are participating in?
You can find out what farmers markets that we're at by going onto our website. It's royaloakfarmorchard.com. And there's a link under activities to our farm markets page that lists all of the different farm markets that we are on, and it also lists the times and locations of all of them. So right now we're bringing all of our bakery products to the markets. We've also got our honey and applesauce and cider. As we get apples in, our first varieties will come in around the first week of August, and so we'll start bringing the apples as soon as they start coming in. Like I said, we're getting a little bit closer to our beehives. We've got 60 beehives here. We do sell the honey on site and then again at the farmers markets. Our foreman takes care of all of our beehives, and they're doing quite well. You can see every additional box that's stacked on top of the base boxes are what we call supers. That's what we extract. That's kind of the extra part of the hive that the bees store their extra honey in. So once we take those supers off, we bring them down to our honey house and put them in our extractor. We've got individual sheets in each one that we can put into an extractor, which is basically a big tub that spins all of the honeycombs around to get all of the honey out. Our new project that we have going on with our hives is what's called a free-flowing hive. It allows us to shift the comb in the hive and extract the honey without even going into the hive at all. So there's a tubing system that runs from it, and the honey just flows right out of it. So it's definitely a non-intrusive way to get to the honey, but our bees don't mind too much when we extract. We only extract once a year, typically the beginning of August. And we want to leave as much as possible into the hives, especially as we get into the winter. That's the food for the bees and allows them to overwinter. If they don't have any food stored in their hives, then they don't have anything to keep them going through the winter. So we want them to stay going through the winter so that they're here in the spring when the blossoms come out on the trees. And a fun little factoid for you, if you cut an apple open, you notice everybody knows there's seeds inside the apple. What everyone doesn't know is that the seeds inside the apple represent how many times a bee has visited the blossom. So a fun little factoid for everyone. We've got one more question. Oh, no. A bee also only produces about 1 teaspoon of honey in their lifetime. So you can imagine how many bees we need here to supplement all our demand for our honey. You can see some of the newer rows of trees coming in. And as you come to visit this year, you'll notice, especially one of the orchards as you drive in, there's been a lot of larger trees that have been taken out. These dwarf apple trees that we have only have a lifespan of about 25 to 30 years. So once they've hit their lifespan, which a lot of them have, our oldest trees are hitting about 25, 26 years, they start to deteriorate, become much more susceptible to disease. So as this occurs, we take out the older trees and put in some newer trees. We've got one more question.
Do the same bees work for you every season?
Do the same bees work for us every season? That's the goal. It doesn't always happen. Like I said, overwintering hives is really important to us. Unfortunately, with all of the diseases that have been going around with the honeybees, it's been a little trickier to get our bees to overwinter. So we've had a couple winters where we've lost almost all the hives. We do have a way to get new bees, though. So we take bee orders in, and we get those normally the middle of April. We'll get our new bees in if we need to replace any of the hives. And they come via the post office. One more question.
What is the lifetime of a bee?
Oh, a bee can typically last a pretty short lifespan, a lot of times 6 to 8 weeks, sometimes even shorter than that. And the queen stays busy creating new baby workers, so the hives tend to replenish themselves fairly normally. As you can see, some of our newer trees in here, like I said, we have to replace a lot of our older trees. Now, the original trees that were put in with a much more traditional growing style, but these new trees that we have, we grow in what's called a tall spindle system, which makes the trees much taller. We grow them like you would see a spindle. So they're grown in a tall manner. We wrap the tops around, and then what happens is we train the limbs of the trees, and you can kind of see on some of these newer trees here, we train the limbs to grow down. Now, the reason we do that is because of gravity. So energy in the tree and the sap in the tree is going to flow down. When the trees get more energy and more sap flowing through the limbs of the trees, they produce more fruit. So that's why you'll see a lot of the limbs going down. No, they're not weighted. Well, sometimes they get weighted down by the apples, but the reason that we train them to grow that way is so that we get more apples off of them. Now, this tall spindle system allows us to grow more apples in a closer proximity, so we get more trees in. So for every 300 or 400 trees we take out, we can normally get anywhere from 600 to 1,000 trees in. So it allows us to replace a lot more trees in the same area of land. We're just getting ready to wrap up the tour. Hopefully we'll have some time to get past our buildings a little bit, but as you can see us coming up to them, we've got multiple different buildings on the property. We've got a large gift shop, bakery, and restaurant area. We've got 2 produce barns, our apple barn and our harvest barn, where our pre-picked fruit is grown. We also have pre-picked pumpkins here and a pumpkin patch where you can go pick your own pumpkins. And then we also have a large entertainment area for the kids. So we've got a playground, petting zoo, and lots of different rides, a carousel, a trackless train, and like I said, our orchard tours that run on the weekends as well. So we thank you so much for coming out on our tour. We hope that you enjoyed it, and we hope to see you this fall.